What if the way you've been telling your life story reveals the secret to what is holding you back? Stories play an integral part in how we see not only ourselves, but the whole world. Stories are more than just an important part of communication. They also reveal hidden aspects of our inner talk, which can either support us or end up holding us back from the very things we want most in life, without us even realizing it. Join author, mindset coach, and award-winning singer-songwriter Carrie Rowan on her show, Look for the Good, every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. when she shares nuggets of wisdom from her internationally best-selling book, Tell a New Story, 5 Simple Steps to Release Your Negative Stories and Bring Joy to Your Life. Carrie's powerful stories and compelling guests will empower you to change how you look at your own life while giving you some powerful tools and tips you can use every day to help you feel better and move yourself closer to the life you've been longing to live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Look for the Good. I'm your host, Carrie Rowan. I'm so excited about our episode today. We are here on Dream Vision 7 Radio. It is syndicated every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Tune in live, or if you miss it, you can always get the replay. You can listen online on your mobile device, in your car, or ask Alexa to play Dream Vision 7 Radio. To learn more and for a full schedule, go to dreamvision7radio.com and evolve with us as we unite humankind with universal love. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Look for the Good. Before we get started, and I have an amazing guest in the wings, I would like to share with you our sponsor, a message from our sponsor today. Are you finally ready to start living stress-free? It really is possible. Join Live Well, Enhance You on a fabulous 5-day free mini course that's packed with actionable tips and easy-to-use strategies to help you reduce your stress and live a healthier, more balanced life. Start your journey to wellness today, and you can join at www.livewellenhanceyou.com/mini-course. Let me read that again. It's www.livewellenhanceyou.com/mini-course and sign up today. It's going to be amazing. And so thank you so much. And as we do every week on Look for the Good, we're always looking for the good. We talk about our stories. We talk about the things going on in our life. And our special guest is so amazing. Sarah's going to share with us because she is an incredible stress management consultant. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about her, but I'm going to keep you waiting in anticipation because I love her bio. It's very, very unique. And what I wanted to talk about, what we're really going to talk about today and dive into is how stress really affects you way more than you realize. A lot of times we don't realize how stress is quietly accumulating in our life, right? Until it's too late. What happens? We have that implosion. Something happens. But stress affects everything. It really affects our relationships, not in a really good way. So we're going to talk about that. I like to call it the emotional backpack, right? So you imagine you've got this backpack, and if you don't do anything about the stress, it accumulates and accumulates. Before you know it, that backpack's going to burst. The seams are going to bust open. Either your back's going to break or the thing's going to break off. So it's never pretty when that happens, right? And it really destroys our relationships in a lot of different ways. We're going to talk about stress. We're going to talk about ways to manage that stress, especially when we don't even realize. We need to become a little bit more aware of when and how it accumulates, because you can knock that down. You can do things to accumulate positive stuff. Just the way stress accumulates, so does meditation, so does mindfulness, so does yoga. All these things accumulate in a really good way, so you're headed in a better direction. So let's talk about that. But first, let me introduce Sarah Alysse to you today. She's a corporate stress management consultant that helps companies cultivate a low stress environment so their employees can be happier, healthier, and work more productively. Isn't that great? She is the founder and CEO of Live Well, Enhance You, LLC, which she formed out of a need for her clients to balance their lives. She branches into the corporate market to assist employees in creating out-of-the-box solutions and companies to develop incredible leadership events. She utilizes her Bachelor of Fine Arts and Musical Theater Performances background, we got this in connection, to coach others how to be confident and understand the connection between the brain and body. Spanning over 14 years, Sarah has collected an abundance of certifications from Integrative Institute of Nutrition, Merrihew Fitness, Stop Pilates to National Academy of Sports Medicine. She's pretty qualified. She's been featured on the nationally syndicated show The List, WGN Living Healthy, and WGN Around Town segment as a stress management expert. She's the host of the Stress Free Solutions podcast and's been promoted on Business Insider, Yahoo Finance, Authority, Brains Magazine, Kivo Daily, Canvas Rebel, LA Wire, The Chicago Journal, New York Wire, New York Weekly, Ideal Mensch, and U.S. Reporter. And I'm so excited to have you here today, Sarah. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me today, Carrie. It's an honor. It really is.
You are so welcome. And I was just recorded one of your shows with you recently. And that was so fun, so insightful. You're a fantastic host as well as a special guest.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about that concept. Because like I was saying, a lot of times we don't even realize how stressed we really are, because what happens is the mind is so conditioned to look for what's wrong. So we're really good at that. We're really good at looking for what's wrong, right? And that's what we talk about here. How do we turn that around? How do we shift our mindset and start to look for the good? What is something that when you have a new client, and you're taking a look at the stress levels, what is something that you recommend right away that works to help them become aware and reduce those levels of stress?
Well, something actually I learned from the Integrative Institute of Nutrition has still helped me to this day, and it's a wellness wheel. So I always give my clients a wellness wheel to kind of check the different areas. So it could be home cooking to finances to career to joy to fitness. And there's a few more on there as well. But what I have found is people really can look at those areas and without too much judgment, just look around and say, wow, I really excel or I have wonderful relationships. But my home cooking, I'm eating out constantly. So that's where it's missing out for me. And then we kind of tackle those areas one by one, but we also celebrate the good, what you've been doing that's really well. Like you have really strong relationships. That's great. Not everyone does. So it's exploring all the good and celebrating, but then also looking at some of the areas that we want to improve on.
I love that. And I love the wellness wheel because it gives a concrete thing for people to look at and analyze. A lot of times with clients, I'll go through like a needs analysis as well. It's something concrete. And I think people like something concrete. Especially when you're talking about stress, it's not always concrete.
Mm.
When you're kind of in the middle of it, because a lot of it is really happening quietly inside of our body, which a lot of people I find are not aware of. Do you find that same thing happening with people?
Yes. So it's interesting. I always think of it like when you have butterflies for the first time, everyone knew what that feeling was like. But as we get older, that butterfly feeling, we try and stifle it because it makes us feel too much of something, whether that's like too anxious or afraid or too excited, and we don't want to come off a certain way to other people. So it's trying to get back in touch with your butterflies and understanding how they can actually serve you in the long run.
I love that. I've never heard it explained quite like that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I love that concept. So get back in touch with your butterflies because butterflies are kind of a cool thing that happens, right? It's like when you get butterflies when you see someone that you have a crush on, or, like you're kind of excited to go on stage. A lot of times I feel like it means you care, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that's what I think we do with our emotions. We're taught to, oh, don't feel that, just push through, keep going. You know what I mean? And so I love that you're making people tap into their bodies and feel what they're feeling.
Yeah.
So do you find that, what do you, I mean, I know how I would answer this. What do you think is the biggest emotion that people come to you with? Their biggest complaint, would you say?
Their I'd say their biggest emotion that they come with is fear because they are afraid of trying something new. They're afraid of how others will perceive them if they make certain changes in their lives. They're fearful about stepping into a new opportunity, whether that be career or a side hustle. And they kind of always have stifled that feeling down. And then it has turned into something that they feel they can't succeed at because they have told their brain subconsciously, you can't do this. So
That is
it's
so powerful.
trick it.
Yeah, it's like he's trying to trick it back into it, which is exactly in line with what I teach people, right? It's that little story that they've created in their head. And most of the time, those stories are not even true. It's just something they picked up a long time ago along the way, like money doesn't grow on trees, or you can't do what you love and make money at it. Those little kind of insidious beliefs that still hang out in our head. How do you help people figure out what that is?
Well, I walk the walk. So I always share with them stories that I have been through because when I first started this journey, I was a starving artist. I was auditioning for shows while working 3 different jobs. And I had to ask myself, like, what kind of you said? What do I need? And what are the things that I want in the future? So, what I needed was a sustainable career so that I could pursue all the things I really wanted to explore in my life. And Pilates gave me that outlet, personal training gave me that outlet. But I always loved writing, singing, performing on stages. And that has developed and changed over the years. But that was basically at that time, right after college, those were my needs. Needed to have that job that I felt, hey, I could pursue what I love on the side. And with my clients, I share that because they're in a really great place. Maybe they're already making, you know, 6 to 7 figures already, and they're now wanting something more. They're wanting to express their creativity. They're wanting to have that side hustle. They're wanting to spend more time with their kids. This is the opportunity to say yes to yourself. And there's a pathway. You just have to believe and say, what are your needs today?
I love that. I love that. What are your needs today? What do I need today to make myself feel better? And that's really cool because you isolated what it was that you wanted to do, and then you said, okay, well, I also need to do this, and found something that could kind of marry the two together, which is really a beautiful thing. So now you're using all of yourself and into your business, which I think is super powerful. And sharing our stories, right? You're able to share that with a client who wants to step out and do something they never did before because you've been through it and so have I, and we know what it feels like to step out. And what do you think it takes, and what do you teach them it takes to believe in themselves that they can do it?
Well, I would say the first step is to get them to do something small, very tiny. Maybe it's starting their podcast so that they can use their voice more. Maybe it's something as simple as I'm going to go take myself on a walk every day so I get out of the house and into a creative mindset. Little baby steps to help them on their journey.
I love that because those baby steps start to add up.
Exactly.
Right? And then they go, "Oh, wait a second." And then they said, "Oh, they promised themselves they were gonna do that every day, and they did that every day." And that's where the belief starts to grow, right? All these little things that they do, and then they look back, it's those baby steps that add up to the big, big steps in our lives. I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And it also, I feel like the belief and the confidence, it's all wrapped up in the same thing. You know what I mean? It's like for the beliefs, you got to get in there and get rid of those awful ones that don't serve you. And then you can start to build up the ones that do serve you and put
Mhm.
things into place with a tiny little step, because that's the way we ever did anything. I mean, we only learned how to walk with one little tiny step at a time.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And that, again, kind of going back to when we were kids, we would just try things because we had to, because we were curious and we wanted to explore like what's around us. Right.
Hmm.
So getting back into that child's like mindset of, wow, this is new, but it's also exciting again is very beneficial for us as adults.
I love that. And you and I were talking before we jumped on. What is something that you do to help your clients feel that childlike space again, aside from the butterflies, because that reminds me of being a kid too. What is something that you can do with people to help them get back there?
With individual clients, I have them choose an activity that they would like. I remember I had one client that really loved puzzles. So I challenged her to do puzzles with different shapes and sizes. And that was more challenging to her and it engaged her brain in a different way versus just like the standard square or rectangle. she would choose like a circle or a picture of a bear and just try it. And she really found that to use her brain in a different way. With companies, I was sharing with you before we got on, I love doing improvisation work because improv is that yes and mentality. So you are taking risks, and then you're also encouraging whoever is your partner, or maybe there's three people up in a scene together and they are taking action and saying yes, and let's go into this direction with whatever your skit is about. A bear.
I love that. Because the yes mindset, yeah, but we have this tendency to just shoot other people's ideas down with a no, and that also creates teamwork, I'm sure, with it when if you're doing that at a company, within the group. I
Yes.
love that, and improv is so fun if you've never done it before, all my beautiful listeners out there. It's a great way to really stir up some creativity, and it also generates a lot of energy and connection. You become very connected with the people that you're with because you're on stage, and whenever you're on stage with somebody, it creates a really cool dynamic and a connection, right?
It creates a lot of powerful energy too. And you start to open yourself up more, is what something I've seen. Like maybe someone that was a little bit more quiet in the company, they start to open themselves up or try something silly, and then everyone smiles and laughs with them. And then all of a sudden now they feel more comfortable in that space with their other coworkers.
I love that. There's so much power in when you do things like that. Um, so tell us a little bit. Your background is singing and you stage, obviously theatrical work. So you bring the improv to that. I love that. And how else do you weave that in what you do now?
Yeah, so it's funny because I never would have thought, and I'm sure you're the same way, Carrie. Like you never would have thought that your path would have led you, like a performer, to coaching or to going in and doing seminars with companies. But it actually was great because I realized, hey, I know how to express myself, use my voice, but now it's more authentic because I'm being myself versus playing another character on stage. And at the same time, I'm helping companies and employees in those companies be able to, if they need to, kind of put on a superpower hat and pretend to be whoever they want to be in the moment and deliver the best presentation of their lives to, let's say they're doing a sales pitch for their product. They're able to now just get up there and be themselves while also maybe a more enhanced superpower version of themselves. So they feel
Mhm.
confident and really they're themselves, but having the idea of like, I'm Wonder Woman and I'm presenting this product to you, even though I'm Sarah, really, right? But just giving yourself that extra little lift by doing some vocal exercises and kind of putting into your presentation that alternate ego, if you will.
I love that because it's so pertinent. I mean, stage work is stage work, like whether you're doing a talk or I'm doing a concert, you've got to understand the fundamentals. You're always, checking the audience, you're reading the room, you're reading what do they want next. It's all the same fundamentals underneath. And so because you grasp that and that's what your training is in, I love that you apply that to business. And so it's just so important too, because then it also calms them down. I feel like if you give them something else to think about and they're acting as if they're Wonder Woman, which you are, by the way, and they're doing their Wonder Woman pose, right? And all the studies that have been done on body language and how we use our body, especially when we're on stage, it not only enhances our confidence, our own confidence, it also enhances people's perception of us. They perceive us as stronger when we feel stronger, right? And we're embodying those power poses, if you will.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing, is like we want people to feel more confident and connected and that they can read the room versus feeling like they're taking themselves out of it because they're so nervous.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. And to give somebody, arm somebody with that is truly powerful, because now they can take that everywhere, not just as whatever their work environment is, they can use it at home. They can use those same strategies to help their children as a parent in that role or any kind of leadership role that they have. You're teaching them so many valuable skills. I just love that.
Thank
Um,
you.
So yeah, so share with me. You told me something, and I just wanted to hit on this briefly before we break for commercial. You have a new song that you're releasing. Tell me about that.
So, well, my best friend from college, we have stayed so close, right? And during the pandemic, we actually started writing songs together. He lived in New York, I lived in
Oh.
Chicago, and it is called Jump. And it is electric duo of him and myself, and it's called Maybe Soon is the audio visual collaboration that we've created.
Mhm.
Uh, so maybe soon. And the song is called Jump and it's getting released on June 16th. So I'm very, very excited about
Woo! Stay tuned for that, everybody. That's so exciting. You can get your copy on June 16th, and I'll have all this linked on the notes on my website. So stay tuned. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere. Just going to break for a commercial real quick. Hello and welcome back to Look for the Good. We're here with Sarah Alysse today. She's sharing some incredible stuff about what she does in her business and how she helps and supports individuals and companies. We're just talking about her song that she's releasing on June 16th. So tell us a little bit about, I love hearing about everybody's creativity method because we all approach it a little bit different. So I love your collaboration. I was in a duo for many, many years with a best friend of mine as well. Is super powerful. So tell me a little bit about your process. How do you create? What comes first to you? The song, the lyrics? How does that work?
Yeah. So what is unique, and this is actually new to me because I never really collabed. I was always like backup vocals or a solo act, and other people would come in and join with their instruments. But with Jamie, what's been wonderful is he gives me the lyrics and then I kind of digest them. I really just, like talk them out, get a feel of them in my mouth and in my body. And then I just sit down at the piano and I just start to play. And it's similar to improvisation. I just see what comes out. And then all of a sudden, a melody might come into my head, accompaniment might come, and I add in the lyrics. And it's amazing because it just melds Jamie and my voice together and creates, soulful expression through our songs. And often we have like a little dance track to it as well with a cool beat.
I love that. That is super powerful. And there's so much I talk about creativity a lot because it's just so powerful to get in that creative space no matter what you're doing because you're just so connected. It's that flow state, right? You're in the zone. There's never a moment where you're more connected with the universe, call it whatever you want, the energy that creates worlds. And it just juices you up like nothing else, right? Like hours, days could go by and you're like lost
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah. I just get lost in the music. But it's also funny. I will say this, and this could be for anyone that loves to journal. When something happens, though, like let's say someone's in your space, all of a sudden you lose that creative energy. So it's important to acknowledge it and don't push yourself if you all of a sudden fall out of it. That's
Hmm.
something I've really discovered is just, okay, I got everything I needed for today. Tomorrow I'll come back and explore more.
Hmm. I love that. And you always get so excited when you have something new. I can't wait to run back and try it out again and hear it the next
Exactly.
day because it changes, right? Like it's almost like you're hearing it anew when you can step away from it. So stepping away, that's a really great point, is a really it's this integral part of the creation process, I feel like.
Definitely.
So that's really beautiful. So how does that parlay into corporate? Like, how do you help people become more creative in their corporate jobs if their jobs really don't feel that creative?
Yeah, well, kind of going back to that idea of journaling, like kind of exploring what you need and what would make you happy or happier at that job. I have clients that are accountants and maybe, during tax season, they're extremely stressed and everything. But I always make sure that they have something that they can go to on the side. Some people might be a class that they want to take. Maybe it's history or improv or a piano class, just trying to get outside of work when they tend to be in a stressful season. Another thing that I do with clients is chat with them about what would bring more energy, positive energy to the workplace. So if it is, let's say they're an accountant and they do love learning about tax, maybe they just have to find something that is unique to the tax profession and kind of go outside of the box to feel into what they need for their job.
I love that. It's really cool. It's like kind of staying within what you're doing, but yet finding a way to be creative. And I think that's really part of alleviating your stress and living more healthy, because that's where the juice of life comes from. Like, so when we're not tending to ourselves or giving ourselves self-care, whatever it is that we need, we don't show up as good as our best selves in relationship, right? We're sort of
Right.
half there. But when we're doing the things we need to, when I'm at my piano, if I get an idea, or I'm just picking up my guitar and playing around with it just gives me an energetic boost that like nothing else can. There,
Exactly.
right? There's not a soda or a candy bar in the world that I partake in any of that. But you know what I mean? It's like we're always looking for things outside of ourselves to boost us up. But really, it's tapping into who we really are. It's tapping to our innate desires to be creative, because we all want to be creative. And don't you always hear people say, oh, I'm not creative at all,
I'm
just not
agree.
creative.
Right. And yeah, and to those people, it's you're not believing. Comes back to that piece of not believing in yourself that you can be creative. Everyone has a creative edge to them. They just have to be willing and invite themselves to explore it.
I love that. Invite yourself to explore. And let's face it, not everybody, are musicians like we are in the singing. That's one kind of creation. I've got a friend who's incredible. She can just get this, her easel out and she's doing a watercolor that looks like Monet. I couldn't do that in 1,000 years, right?
Yeah, I also know people that love to knit sweaters, and then I'm like, I look at them like I could never knit. I can do a scarf, but a sweater is so complicated, and there's math to it, and there's so much that you can do. Baking, that
Mhm.
people love to bake, and that is also a way to be creative.
Exactly. I was going to say making dinner every night.
Yeah,
Making dinner every night is a huge creation. You have to get in your head, look at all the ingredients and come up with an end product.
yep,
There's a lot of steps. So there's so much creation in so many different ways. Maybe the way somebody decorates their house or the way they make their bed is their creativity, right? So I find creativity hidden in almost everything that we do. So everybody's creative. We were brought here by a creative source. So of course we have creator in us.
yes,
And
totally.
I love that. And just finding a way to bring that out and figure out what that is for everybody that gives you that zesty thing. Because when you have zest in your life and you're creating in your own unique way, then you step into everything else you do at just a higher level.
Yes, it's so true.
And your mindset, right? Like how does that affect your mindset
When you're creative.
when you're creative?
Yeah, when you are creative, you start to open up. It's that third eye piece. All of a sudden, right at your forehead, you'll notice that everything becomes lighter. When you tell yourself constantly, no, no, I can't, I can't, I can't, you're closing off something up there. That third eye is shut. You can't even convince yourself that you can do more. When you start to tell yourself yes and explore creativity at wherever or whatever outlet you want, you'll notice that your head just becomes lighter. You'll start to, it's that stress component as well. Like you will notice that fight or flight muscle is not buzzing at all cylinders. You're able to just let go and be able to enjoy being in the present and not worried about all the things you can't do because you're doing them.
I love that. And I feel like that's so important. You're talking a lot about connecting the mind and the body, because we can know something intuitively on one level, but unless we're bringing it into the body, then
Mhm.
it's pretty much useless information, isn't it? You
Yes.
know, I feel like this way with my kids. They're like, I know that, mom. You keep telling me that. Yeah, but you're not actually bringing it into your body. Does it become you? Is it part of what you do? Like you said, walking your talk. You know, if you're not finding a way to bring it in and incorporate it into your life, you can know it all you want, but until you bring it down into your body, it's really hard to embrace it, and I think that's what a lot of people need to really do more of.
Yeah. And tying those butterflies back into it, you also need to learn how to follow your gut. And the gut is often connected to what your butterflies are telling you. So being able to be, hey, I am feeling very anxious and asking the deeper question of the why. And then how can I either tap into that more or get out of it? And that
Mm.
feeling and being able to be okay that right now I don't feel like I can explore, but that doesn't mean I can never explore my creativity. That doesn't mean that I don't want to make that career advancement. It's that piece of following your gut and understanding what it's telling you in that moment.
I love that. And really knowing what it is for you, like you're saying, understanding what your reaction is. So, if I'm tapping into something or asking myself, I always tell my clients, you got to ask better questions. Why? Because the mind's always going to give you an answer. Better
Mhm.
questions in, better answers out. But it's learning to listen for that answer in your body, right? Like, what does your hell yes feel like? Well, mine's gonna be different than yours. And what does your no feel like? Where in your body do you feel your no when you ask yourself that question? I feel like that's really powerful.
Yeah. And it's funny because that no, we can feel in our body almost that definitive, even though we're saying no, that definitive yes, right? Because no comes from like that deep guttural and that space down below. You know how to say no. The ooh, that comes up in the throat. Yes is a little bit more scary. So
Mhm.
it's kind of going with that whole idea of even you know how to say no. So kind of give me that yes right in the guttural. Yes, I can do this. And it's going to feel more impactful, just like your no is.
I love that. Using your voice, right? Like I love
Yeah.
that, and diction and all those things you learn as an artist on stage.
Yeah.
And you taking that and using that because, there's workarounds, if it's if it's saying no and it's so he's used to saying no, let's change our tone. Let's make yes something that's more pleasing to the body.
Hmm.
That's doesn't have so much fear attached to it. Let's find another way. Let's find a workaround. I love, coming up with mindset strategies so that we don't fall into the tendencies that the brain has, these natural tendencies to push us away from the things that we really want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so powerful. All right, everybody, don't go anywhere. We're going to break real quick for a commercial. We'll be right back with Sarah. Hello and welcome back to Look for the Good. I'm here with Sarah Alysse. We're talking about some incredible stuff about stress reduction and wellness and creativity. There's so much goodness in here. So, this is our last segment to talk to Sarah one more time. And I asked her if she could give you guys some tips. I know you love tips, real actionable things that you can do, tips to help live more stress free. What would you say, Sarah?
Well, I always believe in mindfulness in motion. So go on a walk and breathe and just take note, be curious. Being curious is so important. Be curious as you breathe. Is it shallow? Are you taking deep breaths? Are you able to connect the brain and the body? Are you feeling the body or the breath throughout the body? And just acknowledge it. Don't judge. And then you can start to do, and I'm just going to give one, but there's so many different ones. But I'm going to give one breathing exercise for you guys today. And it's the 4-7-8 breathing. And I find this to be the most effective for my corporate clientele when they're stressed because they have to really concentrate. And it's just inhaling through the nose for 4 counts, holding for 7 counts, and then exhaling for 8. So once again, it's inhaling for 4, holding for 7, and then exhale, really releasing all of it out of the mouth for 8. And it's just a great way to check in with yourself throughout the day, really. It doesn't have to be a certain time. You can do it whenever you're feeling stressed or when you just want to feel like you're in the present moment. So that's the first one. And then I would say for the second one, I'm always going to go back to my fitness route or my fitness roots and say power in the movement, you know. So even with the mindfulness, I said go on a walk because it takes you out of your head about breathing. But find micro breaks throughout your day. Stretch, maybe a light exercise. Even if you can just put 10 to 15 minutes aside to move your body however it feels good for you. Just take those micro breaks, and then you'll be surprised that you could implement longer period of times. And who knows, maybe you're going to run a marathon, but start small and then take that extra step.
I love
Then-
that. I
Thank
love
you.
that. So, and we were doing the breathing with you. So I hope everybody's doing that. And the funny thing about breathing, and I'm sure you say this all the time, is that people are like, yeah, of course I breathe, breathing is what I do, but it's still, it's that deliberate. And as singers, we know it's filling up that diaphragm with as much breath as possible, right? On all sides of our body. That really connects you, because what you're doing is you're connecting up to your vagus nerve, right? When you expand and put that air in there, that vagus nerve that runs the longest nerve in our body, which controls not only our digestion, but our stress and anxiety levels.
Yeah.
So,
It's the highway
yeah,
from our gut to our brain. It's insane.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And a lot of times that's why these things all release our stress when we're singing, or if you go outside, when you're a kid, your mom's like, go outside and yell, go outside and yell. I tell it to my kids, all go outside. If you need to swear, go ahead, go swear outside, yell it out. Because again, you're stimulating the back of your neck and your throat, which is the vagus nerve. I feel like it's just this hidden secret that people forget about, that it's there to use.
Yes. Yes. You just got to let it out, Louise.
Let it out, Louise. I love that. So and all of these things are really tying you back into that, things that we can do with our bodies once we understand how they are really also connected. And really
I just was thinking of one more
sure.
one more tip.
Yeah. One
Because
more tip.
3
Awesome.
is
We
a
get
great
another.
number. 3 is a magic number, right? I love the idea of nourishing our bodies with all the things that I talked about, but then with food. And a way that you wouldn't think about nourishing your body with food is actually to mindfully eat, being
Mm.
aware of the sensations that happen when you actually take a bite of food, how it feels in your mouth. I love my sushi, but I will always make fun of myself because I just scarf it down, right? Because you just take a whole bite of that sushi, and I now will break it up sometimes, and I will be like, I really love this roll. I'm going to take the time and mindfully eat this because it is my favorite roll at this restaurant,
Mhm.
and just enjoy it. And all the sensations that happen while you're eating it throughout the body, it's again a way to connect with the brain and the body while also enjoying a scrumptious meal.
I love that. I love that. And you enjoy it even more if that's possible, right?
Yep, exactly.
I love that. I really love that. That's really a great practice. And that affects your digestion, right? The way we put it in affects everything, right?
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
when you're doing that in a more calm fashion and you're enjoying it, you're having conversation, it's a pleasant experience, and you find that your digestion reflects the way that it goes in, right?
Right.
And the way that it comes out, which we're not going to talk about today, but I feel like it's also connected.
All connected.
It's all so connected.
I talk with my clients all the time about gut health, and it is a contributing factor though. All jokes aside, when we are mindfully eating, it's going down a little gentler.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And hopefully coming out the same. But I mean, we could do a whole nother talk on that. But I love the gut brain connection. And I just think it's so important. And we forget about that. And when our digestion is not working, we're not communicating. It becomes one-way communication where it's just down, instead of, you want that gut to be talking to our brain. You want to hear that. You want to hear your intuition, as people say, my gut
Mhm.
instinct, or I had a gut feeling about this. We want those highways, like you said, to be open both ways for travel.
Exactly.
So all these tips are fabulous. I know people are going to love your tips. That was really, really great. And I want to hear a little bit more about your music. So you've got a new song coming out. And is there an album or something that you're working on, or something that where they can find your music?
Well, they can find my music. I have a couple of songs on Spotify. Sarah Alysse, Alysse, and Sarah with an H. So you can actually find my music on Spotify. I have a couple of songs. These are from when I was in my mid-20s, and I released a couple. There's one song that I am going to release this summer. It's an older one called Summer Skies. And yeah, but I am devoted now to this collaboration because we are exploring not just, I'm not just writing a song. We're exploring different avenues of areas in life that people are too afraid to touch on, like loneliness, anxiety. It still kind of taps into what I do with stress management and just exploring it in a song. And the cool part, we're having a music video release this summer of Jump, and it's going to have paint. Like, we paint ourselves when we're feeling something. If it's a good feeling, we'll paint ourselves. If it's a scary feeling, we'll paint ourselves. So we express ourselves in audio visual as well as through our music.
I love that. That is so cool. Oh my gosh. I can't wait for that. That's amazing. It's almost like the colors are a representation of like the emotions, right? And
Yes.
I love that you're putting some tangible colors to an emotion.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. We want people to obviously feel the music, but you know how it is. Everyone expresses their feelings differently. And I think having that visual component will really help people be able to explore their own feelings of anxiety and how they feel, from a day to day, how they feel day to day.
I love that. And the cool thing about that is the connection that comes from that. You're letting people know it's okay to feel this way because we've all felt that way. And that's the beauty of music, right? It can get deeply into those places and heal like nothing else can. It's
Yeah.
like water getting into a crack. It just finds its way in there. And that's the magic of music.
Yeah.
And I just love that you're letting people know that they're not alone with their feelings. That's one of the most powerful things that music can do.
Yeah. And what's crazy too is I think, now that we have re-entered the world and everyone is starting to be together, a lot of people don't know how to do that. Like, they're still afraid because social media was, everyone would look like a certain picture of how they came off on their page. And this music that we're trying to create, or that we are creating, is giving people that ability to be like, yeah, even when I'm with people, sometimes I feel anxious or alone and afraid. And that's okay. And then also being like, hey, it's also okay to be, I love you and I want to see you more and spend time with you, and be okay to say those things too. So we're exploring both parts.
I love that. I love that. That's really, really deep and it's really beautiful. I love the work that you do. You know that. And we talked about it before. Yes. And thank you for brightening the world with your music and helping people with their stress and their anxiety. I really appreciate having you on.
Well, thank you so much, Carrie, for having me on. This was such a wonderful conversation. And I hope that, it impacts many and that they feel comfortable to express themselves after listening to this episode.
Absolutely. And we're going to stay tuned for that amazing music video and your new song coming out on June 16th. And for any more information about Sarah, you can find that on my website and link to hers. And remember, it's never too late to live your best story. And before we leave, one last word from our sponsor. Are you finally ready to start living stress-free? It is possible. Join Live Well, Enhance You on a fabulous 5-day free mini course that's packed with actionable tips and easy-to-use strategies to help you reduce stress and live a healthier, more balanced life. Start your journey to wellness today at www.livewellenhanceyou.com/mini-course. That's www.livewellenhanceyou.com/mini-course. Thanks again, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us today, everybody. Be well.
Thanks for tuning in to Look for the Good with your host, Carrie Rowan, best-selling author and mindset coach. Join us every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. right here at Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. If you weren't able to catch an episode, no worries. Just visit our website to find all the archived episodes of Look for the Good on demand, so you don't miss a thing. And remember, it's never too late to live your best story. For additional resources or to find out about how you can work with Carrie directly, visit carrierowan.com for more details.